for my safety, my home privacy. I would go through his shit. I would check his phone, I would check his computer.
Home privacy.
I was on some CIA shit back in the day, I'm gonna tell you that. So I would go through his stuff.
My home privacy.
And I get on his computer because that's the type of girl I am, okay? The minute you leave me alone with your electronics, you better believe I'm trying to check your messages. Like, I don't even care. So his phone and his laptop were synced up in messages, which I loved because that means I only have to get my hands on at least one of the two devices. That's a much bigger percentage of me snooping. So I love the fact that he would sync that shit. So I'm going through his laptop messages. This was not supposed to be drama. This was supposed to be me voicing my concern for my safety, my home privacy, and how I felt about another creator abusing their platform.
That's drama. You can't just make accusations against someone alluding to them being a predator and not expect any critiques in return. So it was always going to be a drama video and you knew it. Also, why make fun of him then? If you didn't want to cause drama, why bring in people who are unrelated?
When have I ever showed off to you, Nick? It seems like you talk about my house more than I do.
Really? Do you really want to make that claim? She literally did a furniture haul. And another furniture haul. And another furniture haul. Another fucking furniture haul. What the fuck? Oh my god, and there's another one. She has so many house videos, I had to stop myself just to move on to the next part of this video.
It seems like you talk about my house more than I do.
Let's first talk about her house. How jealous, but also happy for her. Like, but jealous. Doesn't she have one of those ovens? It's like a 5-layer oven. Who uses that? I don't know. I really want a beautiful kitchen like Stephanie's. Her kitchen is perfect.
He was house hunting. He asked Trisha Paytas about her security system too.
And all of what you saw in those videos are prior to him ever being invited into my home.
If she wasn't showing it off to anyone, then how would he be able to see it? Why else would he know about the stuff in your house if you never mentioned it to him before? It's because you show off your house all the time.
He spoke about my oven prior to coming over to my house.
Like a 5-layer oven. Who uses that?
And then he goes on to talk about more about money. You think I'd get murdered before you do?
You have the most money. Rich bis. I would buy that over regular bis.
I feed the shit out of you.
You guys down to make some money? That moolah, bis, if you got them balls. Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Stephanie, and today we are back with another dun-dun mukbang. Woo! I freaking forgot this intro because I did not say that.
I got a ride in her Tesla today. Wow.
Nick, no, I never showed off to you. You were the one that likes to put words to it, such as, what's the name of your fancy security system? Oh my gosh, is that fancy Viking oven? You asked me how much my couch was. I would never show that off to you or anyone for that matter. That moolah, bis.
But you're a vlogger, and you show off your house all the time. You do house tours in a very excited way, so what are you even talking about?
I would never show that off to you or anyone for that matter.
Well, this is a picture that you showed in your video, and then you said that you took it because you wanted to see my lighting setup. I said yes. I don't know about you, but typically I'd like to get a closer shot of the actual lighting setup.
No, your lighting setup includes all of the lights in your room. Unless you turn all of your lights off when you film videos, the other lights in your kitchen is a part of the lighting setup. And look at how many lights there are.
When I did go to the restroom, you did take pictures behind my back. And I didn't approve of those pictures. And you kept trying to make it seem like I'm crazy, I'm a manipulator for being scared of you releasing these pictures. So then you went on to release the exact pictures that I would never want on the internet. You released a picture of my kitchen with my security feed straight dab in the middle, and you didn't have the courtesy to blur it out.
Isn't her Christmas tree where the camera is? So unless you're talking about him taking pictures of a different camera, why would you say there's no light, there's nothing up there, no interesting light fixtures, when there's a big ass Christmas tree right in front? And the other one in her kitchen, she has lights above the counter. So I don't know what camera she's talking about, but the only two cameras that we've been able to see so far in her videos, there are light fixtures where the cameras are.
I love how everyone's like, Black Friday haul, Vlogmas Day 1, putting up the Christmas tree.
So I just don't get that part. Somebody explain it to me. Regardless, none of this has anything to do with him being a fucking predator.
But these are the things that you do. You take pictures, you post it. I don't know why you ever would think that that's okay to post.
This security footage thing is such BS because you can easily go online and see that people have written articles about her. She is a public figure. They've written articles and taken pictures of her home with her security footage in her home. The same type of shots that Nikocado took. And she doesn't have a problem with it. You can easily find out what neighborhood she lives in. It's not a secret.
You do a lot of these microaggressive things that nobody could really talk about. But these are the things that you do. You take pictures, you post it. I don't know why you ever would think that that's okay to post.
It's just a little strange. He said, hey, let me show you what food we're eating. He switched the camera on his phone, but instead of pointing the camera down onto the kitchen counter, it was
where the food is.
but it was to my face for a good 3 seconds. Okay, now this is awkward. Do I act like I don't know what's going on? Do I say something? Do I turn around? But at the same time, I don't want to overreact. It's just a little weird and uncomfortable.
Like, just say what's on your mind, but for some reason they don't know how to do that. You can't blame him for making you uncomfortable when you never said how you felt. Either of you.
It's like one of those things where you can't call him out on it and be like, what are you doing? Because then you seem insane.
Why do you have to call him out on it? What's so hard about saying, hey, I know that you want to take some photos, but you can't take photos of my security system? No one can know unless you say something.
It's like one of those things where you can't call him out on it and be like, what are you doing? Because then you seem insane. But it's also another thing because Nick knows that my fiance is very private. He doesn't really like being in front of cameras.
It's kind of also like the picture.
They keep worrying about her husband's face being on the internet and all this, but you can easily Google search his name and it'll pop up. So what are you talking about? Your privacy. You can't be a public figure and demand privacy without even at least asking for it first. Listen to how manipulative they are.
After he switched the camera to the food, I walk up to him and introduce myself because I don't want to seem like I'm this guy that's
like you're so important.
or I pretend like I don't know what's going on. So I just want to take charge and say, hey, let me just properly introduce myself, or instead of pretending, nothing happened. So I just want to take charge.
They would rather assert dominance than just simply ask him not to take certain photos. And you've given no reason why you feel uncomfortable saying, oh, he'll think you're crazy. Who cares if he thinks you're crazy? It's your house. What's so bad about him thinking that you're crazy? Why are you so insecure that you need to be so perfect in his eyes when he's known for being a clown on YouTube? Like, it just makes no sense at all.
Do something and it makes people uncomfortable, but they can't voice their concerns because they would seem like the crazy ones. And then if they do voice your concerns, you say something like, it was just innocent admiring of her home.
Who's admiring her furniture?
Who the fuck gives a fuck? Didn't you apparently confide in him about how you're paranoid about all this stuff? So if he looked at you like he was weird for it, that would be on him. Who cares? You never told him, so you can't get mad at him for that.
We had discussed it was Stephanie's idea that she would have the last leg and I would look at her like, ooh, what you doing? Because I'm, the fat pig that loves to eat. I got you some good comments. So she had the last thing, right? We're eating, I was just sitting here, I was going this.
Like, just be real, man. Just be real.
So, are you lying or is that footage lying?
With the chicken wing thing, I saw that clip. I just assumed that he was saying that he was the only one looking at her, like, acknowledging it. Like, who would bicker over that?
I wanted it to be less drama focused, but more about the personal struggles behind all of the decisions that were made.
So then why did Zach say that he wanted to stay out of it if it wasn't a drama video? That seems suspect to me. Also, you said yourself in your original video that Veronica hurt you. So was there really no drama between you two? As you put it, which one is it?
And to give you guys some perspective, this is what I said to Veronica, which Nick has never seen. We didn't leave off on the best terms. And she said, hey Steph, I hope you're doing well. I know we left off on a really horrible foot, but I just wanted to let you know I've missed you.
You're both slimy people. No one cares. Showing texts of you two being smiley and happy to each other face to face doesn't prove anything about your true feelings. You said she hurt you. Your words. So your relationship isn't as smiley as it appears to be. There's so much information missing from this whole thing that isn't being addressed. And that's why I'm not going to sit here and blindly follow her. I'm not telling you to blindly follow Nick. I'm not telling you to blindly follow Stephanie. I'm saying that if you really have that much of a problem with what Nick has done, you have to have just as much of a problem, if not more, with Stephanie, because she accused him of things that are unforgivable, and she allowed her fans to bully people who were barely even involved in this whole thing with no remorse whatsoever.
I wanted to showcase different perspectives of not just me, but Veronica and of Nick.
And then she keeps leaving out all this context, but she wants you to believe in her and support her and all this other stuff.
I would also like to showcase a side of you that shows that you're not just here for the drama, but you're here for the underdogs. And the words she said to you hurt you and not just angered you. I would also like people to see a little glimpse of vulnerability from Nikocado, obviously to your comfort, just like how my perspective changed when I actually got to meet you in person. I don't know how he took this and twisted it so out of context to make it seem like I am obsessed with Veronica and I need to get an apology from her and she did me so dirty and I just will not let it go.
No. He's talking about when you all met up and stayed at the restaurant for hours. The meeting where you went into detail about everything that you wanted in your video and how he interpreted it as an exposure video was something in person. You're using this evidence on your phone as evidence to what transpired at that restaurant. And the fact that you're acting like that long meeting has no relevance to this whatsoever makes your claim of innocence much less believable. What she's doing is really smart. She's grasping at straws in a very calculative way. To give you an example of some of the petty BS that she keeps talking about, but just isn't worth responding to, I'm gonna give you the best example of why I'm not gonna respond to every single little thing that she talks about, because it's one, either something that I've already talked about in my last video, or two, it's just so stupid it's not worth addressing, like this.
He said, also, your microwave promo. They told me you're doing it too. Haha. I didn't answer.
She reads out conversations between herself and Nick claiming that she didn't respond to things that he said, like this microwave BS, but then 10 seconds later she shows text of her responding to him about the microwave.
And yes, the microwave is super cool. It even bakes lasagna. I was shook. It has truly enabled my lazy side.
It's like, how are you gonna say I didn't respond and then you actually respond 10 seconds later? That's the type of shit where you should be able to think for yourself and look at the information on the screen and understand, oh yeah, she did say that. That's kind of weird. And if I have to spell stuff like that out for you, then you can't be helped regardless.
When you're the one that reached out first.
I felt that she was very self-serving. Only reaches out to us if she wants something out of us.
Nick, when have I ever reached out for you for anything?
Oh my god, he just told you when you want something from him. So you address this claim by saying,
other than that time about the docuseries, which by the way, I didn't care if you wanted to get involved or not. You knew that. I told Zach, hey, I think I want to do it with Veronica regardless of Nick.
listen to her phrasing.
I didn't care if you wanted to get involved or not.
She phrases it as if she never went to him about it. Hence her saying,
When you're the one that reached out first.
she brought up the docuseries, not Nick. It was her idea. But she phrases it like he just happened to know about it and inserted himself. Then she reads another text out of context.
About the docuseries, which by the way, I didn't care if you wanted to get involved or not. You knew that. I told Zach, hey, I think I want to do it with Veronica regardless of Nick.
But oh look, what's this here beneath the part that you just read out? I thought you didn't care though. Why not read that part out? Maybe because it contradicts what you just fucking said?
You're the one that asked to collab when apparently you didn't even like me.
I didn't really like her. I didn't even know her.
And you're the one that made all of these videos using my name for views, which I don't mind. And you call me self-serving because I wanted to have this big four-way collab with you, me, Kimi, and Honey.
She took him out of context so much here, it's not even funny. She showed a bunch of clips of him talking, but no context with his claims. To keep this video as short as possible, I'm going to show one example, the best example of her doing this. But you can go watch yourself to see the whole thing. She shows this clip.
Who's really self-serving?
This is not my fault. This is no one's fault but hers.
I think Stephanie's trying to capitalize on it.
That's Zach's text message. This is Nick's text message. Even if you want to say, no, it's the other way around. Even if you want to make that claim, one of the texts is Zach's, one is Nick's. So I show both in a compilation of Nick saying he doesn't like you. Because Zach was also apprehensive towards you or else he wouldn't have said this. But no one cares when Zach does it. Like, people act like it's not normal for you to have an initial thought about someone, but still try to give them a chance. You can't say that Nick is being two-faced for saying those things, unless you're gonna lump Zach in as well. But you wanna know why her little minions aren't lumping in Zach? It's because Zach is on her side, so they don't care about what Zach has to say. They give him the benefit of the doubt about having mixed feelings about her before meeting her, but when Nick does it, they're like, no, you're a monster. You're gonna break into her house and kidnap her or something. No, Kurena, you can't move on because you'll be leaving out context and we can't think for ourselves. If you really want me to address any of the stuff that I'm leaving out in this video, I'm still not going to touch on every single thing that she has to say, but you can just pause and read all this shit if you really want to know my opinion.
And you go on to say, Kenny doesn't like her, Kimi doesn't like her.
Honey Eats doesn't like her. Kimmy doesn't like her.
Again, using other people's words publicly to hurt and humiliate other people.
And at no point does Stephanie deny this in her video, so it's more likely to be true. So how is this an example of him being two-faced and self-serving if he told you to your face? But she can't address it because in that clip, he calls Stephanie two-faced and self-serving. So the only way for her to show this clip in its entirety, to show the fact that Nick said to Stephanie's face that Honey doesn't like her, is for her to admit that he said it to her in the first place. And if she does that, she's going to have to address whether she has been considerate to Honey or not. And she hasn't. She doesn't give a fuck about Honey. So that's why she can't show the whole clip and address the entire clip, because it will reveal her true character and who she really is. So she just skips over it but makes the claim anyway. You can't have it both ways. Apparently you can because everybody's falling for it.
I didn't want to get other people involved. I didn't want to just drag people into the mess. And I also felt like after knowing who Nick was as a person, that I just didn't want to put anyone else in his line of fire.
They went after everybody who was remotely involved because she put everyone's names in the video. However, when they were making fun of her, no one mentioned her name because they didn't want to send hate towards her. And she's unapologetic about it. She makes it seem like it's a whoopsie doopsie. I didn't address it right. Oopsie. But we'll get into that later.
If you were going to post the footage, because at this point we were even scared to ask you to not post it. Zach tried. It didn't really work. Zach said, I don't think he gets it either. I was telling him the whole time after how it was going to be perceived, but he didn't seem to get it and just chalked it up to his audience being dumb. If you were going to post the footage, because at this point we were even scared to ask you to not post it. Zach tried. It didn't really work. These happened the night when I got home from the collab. We're talking about if you were going to post the footage.
Why the fuck wouldn't you just ask him? Why do you keep having all of these secret conversations? You keep fearing things that never happen. It's two of you and one of him plus your husband's on your side. What is so scary about him? I honestly want to know. Because people keep saying, you're blaming the victim. What? Tell me what is so scary about him. If she did nothing wrong, what could he possibly expose her for? If he's really making everyone in the house feeling that uncomfortable, then why don't they say something?
This is a problem that everyone should be alarmed by, is that you didn't ask Zach for that permission, and a lot of it was taken out of context, where he said, I wonder who her actual friends are, and you used Zach's text messages from months ago out of context and manipulated them without his permission.
No, it isn't. How can you stand by doing nothing and excuse yourself by saying that you hate to see your friends fighting when Stephanie accused him of exhibiting predatory behavior? Not to mention that you were closer to Nick in the first place, so you should really care if someone's accusing him of being a predator and he's your friend. At that point, to say nothing is, as you say, ethically and morally wrong. So your text messages are fair game. You're just playing both sides so that you can lean on the winning side the second that it's visible. And the second that Nick showed any proof of your true snake-like behavior, you turned on him. They're not his friends. He doesn't give a fuck about them. You shouldn't be surprised.
I think Stephanie's trying to capitalize on it.
Where he said, I wonder who her actual friends are.
She just showed evidence of Zach being two-faced, but does not care because she's self-serving and it plays to her advantage. She then attempts to show a contradiction. Nick saying that his first impression of her was bad, but then showing a clip of their meetup.
Remember what I said my first impression of Stephanie was? It was awesome, she was so nice, we went out to eat, we hung out for like 7 hours.
His first impression of her was before they met up because just earlier Stephanie played a clip of him saying, I didn't like her, I didn't even know her. So yeah, when he didn't like you, it was when he did not even know you, when he hadn't even met you. So again, like, she keeps doing that and nobody gives a fuck about it. Everybody's like, you go girl, stay strong, girl. Oh my God, girl, stay strong, girl. And the fact that Sue is pulling from all of these unrelated incidents to make it seem like Nick is the one who's contradicting himself is just slimy.
Nick had a date in New York City, and he claims that he didn't belittle the Me Too movement, and he was a little bit upset that he had spent a lot of time and perfume and money on food for this guy that he met in New York, and they didn't do anything afterwards. And he said, December 21st, when I posted my video that day, he said, Nikocado did it to me. I am that boy that little Me Too video is about. I would love to talk to you about it. We have a lot in common. I have all the screenshots as well.
But the problem with bringing this up is that there's a lot of people who are talking about you too online, saying that they know you personally and they have stories that they can share about horrible things that you've done to them. And also, you have stories on your own channels talking about horrible things that you've done to people. These people started talking about how they stopped being friends with you because of your behavior and telling everyone to question why you have no long-term friends and that she's not just this innocent little butterfly because everything that she's accusing him of, she's done the same thing or worse.
Zach has apologized privately, and for me, I'm just going to choose to judge his character by his actions and not by something that was manipulated by you.
Well, his actions are that he's a two-faced snake, so the judgment is over. But that is a good point. Let's judge people off of their actions. Let's look at your actions.
It was a pattern of behavior. This is a definition of pattern of behavior. A lot of us run off patterns. I don't know if I'm the only one, but if someone makes a mistake, you forgive them. But if they continue to do the same thing over and over and over again, and they hurt people every single time, are you guys seeing a pattern here? I think that's very dangerous, and I think that's very alarming. I had this intense fury, this intense anger towards this teacher, and I decided it was going to be my new life mission to ruin her life. Like, that's how horrible I was. I'm just gonna ruin her life. I'm gonna make her life really, really difficult. Crazy. We're talking about revenge. Yet, I'm just a loser. I was working and I decided to get revenge on a customer. I didn't want to share this story initially because it makes me look like a crazy person. Like, I want to make your life as hard as possible. I get sometimes very vengeful, and I was a petty queen. I loved it. Like, this is my chance to exact my revenge. So to exact revenge, I was willing to ruin my favorite pair of shoes. Do I regret it now that I'm older and more level-headed and not as petty? No! I wanted revenge. It felt awesome. Sometimes I feel bad for any guy who comes my way because I feel like I've tortured a lot of boyfriends. I even torture my freaking fiance all the time. Are you guys seeing a pattern here? decided to put staples into every pair of shoes that he owned, inside the shoe, so that when he stuck his foot in, there would just be staples floating around it.
Yeah, this is a really great person with an awesome character.
I am talking pre-smashed staples, those little passive-aggressive bridges that you get, every single shoe that he had. I don't care if they were shoes that he never wore, or dress shoes that he only wore like once in a while, once in a blue moon, and I did this every time that I visited him. Like once or twice a month, I would re-staple all of his shoes.
Why?
So I'm gonna ruin him. I'm gonna make him cry like a little boy, and the only way that I had power to do this was to F up his Doraemon collection. I had zero intention of giving him back his 350 like collectible Doraemon that he probably spent thousands of dollars on.
So this shows that she has a character of getting revenge on people and like really wanting them to suffer. That's my opinion. This shows her true character behind that squeaky, clean, I don't have any drama image. Here we go again.
I would go through his shit. I would check his phone, I would check his computer. I was on some CIA shit back in the day, I'm gonna tell you that.
She's proud of herself. She's proud of herself. She's proud of being a little femme fatale, you know, person. She's straight out of the film noir era.
So I would go through his stuff. And super religious, like, was like all about Jesus, you know, doing sexual stuff. We both consented to it. Like after we did some sexual stuff, he just kept shaming me. He would like send me Bible verses. He ended up breaking up with me because he said that I was like changing his ways and I was a bad influence on him. I was gonna shame him back. You guys know what Stephanie did. I told him that gonorrhea. Oh my god, I didn't.
Who does that? Who does that? Who falsely claims they have an STD? What kind of character do you have, Steph girl?
I didn't have it, but I told him I had it because what does one do when they contract an STD? You gotta get it fixed. Dangerously underage. What does he do? He gotta tell his very religious mama, his tiger mom. And so he like cried. He was like crying on the phone with me. These days, I try to be more mature about it. Sure, Jan.
People like the fact that you're just this crazy person.
So I go into his closet and I cut a hole on the butt of every one of his joggers that he had. This guy was gonna get emotional. He was obsessed with his joggers, like I said. Please do not bully anybody.
There is something really wrong with you, and I think you might either be a sociopath and a narcissist. I don't see human emotion in this individual.
I'm not that stubborn if I think I'm not right. But if I think I'm right, you better believe shit is going down. I'm the type, okay, let's say that you have a boyfriend who's late. He's always 5-10 minutes late to something. And let's say one day you're like, hey babe, take me to Red Lobster. So you tell him, don't be late. He comes up and he rolls up at like 6:15. But now let me tell you, it starts pouring down rain. Me, on the other hand, I've got a point to prove. I am the type, I will stand outside in the rain, in the pouring rain, waiting for you. When I could easily just go inside the Red Lobster for shelter. But I won't. Now I'm wet and I'm gonna catch a cold and I'm gonna miss work tomorrow. And now you owe me money.
We should question the validity of what you do because you're very conniving. When you don't get your way, you're angry, you will go to extremes. And I think you've done it again.
But that's how I'll take it. Like, I will literally take it to the extreme to prove my point. So you need to know this, and this will explain why I did and why this series of events unfolded in the manner that it did. And yes, I do need a therapist, but my therapist is booked till like middle of November, and like BetterHelp is like canceled these days. So I just, you guys are my therapy from now on, just so you know.
This is a pattern for you. You know, there's so much more we could probably dig up on you. Honestly, I don't have time. I could investigate more and more and more and reveal you if I had more time.
When you said, awesome, when would you like to reschedule? Prior to doing that, you had already texted Zach privately saying, LMAO, I'm exposing her tonight.
Okay, well, let's reschedule. I said that because I knew she wouldn't want to reschedule, so I was literally playing with her. I'm like, she's not. I was calling Zach at the same time. I told him, I was like, I know she's not going to say she's going to reschedule.
Yeah, he admitted it. He admitted to being petty.
And then you proceeded to post all of these on social media.
I did it because I was saying, look, I have people on my side.
So look at what happens when I say no to you.
You waited to tell him no after all this BS, lies, excuses, and playing the victim. So that's why saying no was a problem. These people are children. Don't you hate that? When people have a problem with something that you're doing and they say nothing until they can't take it anymore? Like, what the hell? Why didn't you tell me before?
I am a very timid, like, scaredy cat type of guy. Emotional manipulation is not what I did to you.
Please go watch my first video.
He said that in relation to why he wasn't a predator and why he wasn't going to break into your house.
I scream and cry if my finger gets poked from a king crab leg.
So that whole clip was him saying why he wouldn't harm you physically in any way, shape, or form because he's a scaredy cat. Not, oh, I've done absolutely nothing wrong because I'm a scaredy cat. So you took him out of context again.
I never implied that Nick did anything illegal. I never implied that Nick committed crimes towards me or towards anybody else.
You put up information about wiretapping laws, which is implying that he possibly wiretapped you.
I never implied that Nick sexually harassed me.
And you said what he did to you was worse than being assaulted. That is the literal definition of implying that he sexually assaulted you or did something that was objectively worse. You remember how she was misappropriating the Me Too movement and she was showing the clip of Nicocado's date and everything where Nick made him feel uncomfortable? She made it seem like Nick was a sexual predator. And when you look at her own stories, someone could draw the same conclusions about her based off of similar evidence, which just shows how much of a hypocrite she is. So I'm going to show you.
Doing sexual stuff. We both consented to it, okay?
So it already sounds like she's making up an excuse because she's like, we both consented to it, but listen to the rest of the story.
Like, after we did some sexual stuff, he just kept shaming me. He would, like, send me Bible verses.
So he kept shaming her and showing her Bible verses. So the question is, what did you two do and how did it lead up to that? Because just because he consents to it doesn't mean you didn't pressure him. And if he's shaming you afterwards, so far, it could be up in the air. Maybe he's abusing her, right? But listen to the rest of it.
While we're texting, he ended up breaking up with me because he said that I was, like, changing his ways and I was a bad influence on him.
I was like changing his ways and I was a bad influence on him. It really makes you wonder, what did she say? What did she do? And then she's making a video about it, venting about him, when based off of her own story, she sounds like the abuser.
Shame him back.
So she got so mad that he shamed her that she's like, oh, I'm gonna shame you back now. And that's when she said that she had gonorrhea. So she's a really sick person, because if she's gonna say that Nikocado was doing, then it's like people can easily draw the same conclusions about you. And if anything, it's projection. I really wonder what happened that day between her and her ex. And yes, I can understand that it can be intimidating to have someone talk about you online when you're a regular person and they're kind of like a celebrity in a sense. But unless he name drops you, he can vent about whatever he wants to, or else you can sue him. Even with the naked picture thing, it's against the law to share that. And for the record, like I said, that would be wrong if he did that. But I'm making the point that you can sue him if he shares your naked photos to the public. So yeah, if he was going to do any of that, he deserves to be chastised for it. Even making fun of the guy, he got chastised for it. No one is denying that. The problem is that you are justifying your actions with unrelated issues as if it clears your name when it doesn't. You left Honey's channel on fire. You allowed your fans to harass her and you barely addressed it. But you want to cry about being afraid that you're going to be harassed. It didn't even happen to you yet, and you're having a mental breakdown over it. But you didn't give a fuck about her. You said it on your vlog channel, you said it on your Instagram, you said it indirectly here and there, but you never brought attention to it. How can you make a video saying that you're scared of Nick and the power that he has, and when the one time you have all of this power, you abuse it? Anyone who is mad at Nick for this date thing cannot in the same breath approve of you and your disgusting behavior. That is my only point throughout this video, that you are a slimy hypocrite and you don't deserve the innocent reputation that everyone is giving you. So a few quick things. I just want to say thank you to the people who were linking me these videos on my last video. I really appreciate it, because as this woman said, it's really hard to actually uncover the truth about people in a short, timely fashion. It takes a while. Not only does it take a long time to do research, that's why this video is out like 10 days after my last one, but it also takes a long time to put it together. And even when you finally do that, the video is going to be long. These are very detailed explanations and very serious issues, but most people don't watch this stuff for the truth. They want entertainment. They view people's real life drama as if it's some sort of reality TV show. And to those people who complain about the length, you're quite frankly disgusting. If you want this to be shortened and you don't actually care about learning about the truth, you just want a story that you can eat some popcorn, drink some tea, and sit down, relax, and watch it or something, when people are miserable and they're like affected by this. It's very heartless and disgusting. So I also want to say thank you to people who are sitting through this whole thing. I'm still going to make the TLDR and stuff, even though I think that, you know, the people who would prefer to watch that are disgusting. I'll still make it anyway just so that there's an alternative.
He made it seem like I had this dirty little secret, and I don't.
I just have to ask, why are you so scared of getting exposed? If you really are a victim of manipulation and you didn't do anything wrong and everything's innocent and apparently Veronica never hurt you even though you said she did and all this other stuff, then why are you afraid of getting exposed? Clearly there's more than you're letting on, and there's a lot of information that we don't know. Stephanie writes off this accusation against her by perpetuating a false narrative that Nick is just obsessed with her and keeping track of her.
Only Instagram post of mine that Stephanie Soo has ever liked.
I think it's strange that you know that that's the only picture I liked. I don't know if that's the only picture I liked, but if you know that for a fact, that's a little strange to me.
She says, I've loved everything I've seen on Twitter.
I don't have Twitter, but I have like friends who have Twitter, and they've been texting me screenshots of all the support on Twitter. I don't have Twitter. Please don't make assumptions of what I've seen on Twitter.
When the truth is, she really is keeping track of him, because if you listen to everything that he had to say, he's making the point that she's paying attention to all of his exposure videos. She's paying attention to all of the exposure videos. She was watching Honey like a hawk, which means that she knows about everything that people are accusing her of. Yet, when she makes her response video to Nick, she left out any damning information against her. Here's the proof.
Exposing video or threaten me with it, I don't know. I was just scared.
Who taunts with their abuser? Who taunts with a predator? If she's that scared of me, that is the strangest thing. No one's ever done that to me before. I would genuinely like to know. Who taunts somebody like that? And then you're going to like posts about yourself being exposed by me? Why? Which is why she liked my post about exposing her, which is why she deliberately told me to look at her, and it feels like I was set up. It's really crazy. It feels so calculated.
And he said he had a title in mind. So what are we gonna do?
In our video yesterday, oh, I'm ready to move on, hee hee, I'm so happy, giggling. I'm thinking like, what the heck is so funny? Why is that funny and to giggle about all of a sudden? Something that's so traumatizing before, 48 hours, 72 hours later, we're laughing at. She says, I've loved everything I've seen on Twitter.
And I'm envisioning him though because this makes me happy and satisfied and feel like I got my revenge.
Jenny is really not taking this well. And guess who's watching? Every single story. Who has been watching it for days and days. Here are the receipts.
Staring down at all my life decisions. I was sexually assaulted in my own home. It was somebody that I had to let into my home. And then they took away my power to say no.
But just to make things clear and, highlight of what Stephanie has actually done. First of all, she was not sexually assaulted. A person who came to her house to install the internet and TV, he was an ex-con. And he took upskirt photos of her. She found out, she sued the company. She got monetary compensation for that. She wasn't raped or groped or touched or anything like that. Furthermore, the allegations in her video are so serious. She has basically attempted to ruin Nicocado's life. Now, say what you want about him. You may like him, you may hate him, whatever. Nobody deserves to have their life ruined by fake allegations of being a predator.
You just said he did nothing sexual or abusive to you, and you're comparing his Me Too thing, which was sexual and abusive, allegedly, and all that stuff like that. You're comparing those two. Those are two separate patterns of behavior, according to you.
That just makes, like, the people who really need help, it's like crying wolf when you don't see a wolf. It's like, but then what if someone does see a wolf? Now everyone's skeptical that there's a wolf.
She'd rather do this whole thing with sexual assault and this emotional weapon to convince people that I'm a predator.
Because this is equivalent she's an equivalent of a girl who cries rape when she wasn't raped. This is almost just like that. This is serious, okay? Because then genuine rape victims, genuine victims of sexual assault are not being believed because of situations like this. So I think everybody needs to realize how serious this is. And she really needs to be held accountable.
I'm sorry, but there was no reason to bring up sexual assault into a discussion about ghosting me for a business meeting, lying about why you ghosted me for the business meeting, and then me being angry about it. Sexual assault, Me Too movement, PTSD, abuse, predatory tendencies, definitions about manipulation, and that has nothing to do with anything that took place. And she's manipulating people by calling me a manipulator. It's projection. She says, I've loved everything I've seen on Twitter.
I don't have Twitter, but I have like friends who have Twitter, and they've been texting me screenshots of all the support on Twitter. I don't have Twitter. Please don't make assumptions of what I've seen on Twitter.
Okay, at this point, she can no longer run from what she did to Honey anymore. Because at that spot, at that point in his video, he was explaining how everyone is attacking Honey and making fun of the death of her father while Stephanie didn't care. So don't you think if Stephanie had, you know, compassion, the way that she claims to, that she would take some time to explain in a very serious way how detrimental it is to harass Honey, not just put a little emoji and say, don't bully anybody? You know for a fact that if Nick did that, if Nick said, oh, don't bully anybody, and he had all of his fans go after her, she would have had a fucking field day. She would have been going off like, that's not enough. You're not actually telling them to leave me alone. You know she would have said that. But everyone's gonna accept it with her? Come on. Since Stephanie's whole video is about her feeling harassed over private conversations, she should be able to relate to Honey more than anyone else right now, right? But she says practically nothing about it, and the little that she does say is in such an upbeat way, no one takes it seriously.
Neither one of her videos did she sit there and say, hey guys, make sure you don't bully either. Honey eats Joe the screenshot. She shows what people were saying, just meeting her in the grave with her dead father and her brother who has some kind of disablement, you know, he deserves to die. Like, just really heinous thing over something very, very insignificant. You think she doesn't know that? You think she isn't well aware?
I wanted revenge. It felt awesome.
Oh, well, it's kind of awkward, but I can accept her apology.
And then all she has to say about the lack of response she gave to Honey's situation is,
I was trying really hard to move on. Maybe I should have addressed it more and more. Yeah, that's on me. But I was really just trying not to freak out and go back to that space again after being bullied by you.
but it isn't over yet. What do you mean you want to move on? Because it's not about you anymore? Okay, not forgiven then. I don't want to go back to that space again. I hate it when people say, I don't want to go back to that space. It's such a TV line. You see all those people on TV, I don't want to go back to that space, that hell in my mind. Oh my God. If that isn't the biggest excuse of the year.
But what I do want to say is that I think if anything, I can do my best to say, please don't bully anyone. I can't control every single person, but please, if you're listening to this and you care about anything I say, please do not bully anybody.
What did she throw in there? And I've also seen how people have reacted, and it's broken my heart. Or I've seen how people have twisted this into being this big old extra thing, and it's also broken my heart. And by the way, please don't send her hate speech.
I was going to show her who was boss. Like, okay, I'm going to ruin him. I'm going to make him cry like a little boy.
And this is going to follow me for life. For life. For life. Because you couldn't have a conversation? Because you didn't want to talk about some girl that you told me you wanted to?
And that is 100% my fault. So if I never made it clear, which I thought that I did, I will once again, please do not bully anyone. Because I know what it feels like to be bullied, and it's not okay. And it doesn't feel good, and nobody deserves it.
It's so indirect and anonymous that it's just as useful as saying nothing. And what Honey is going through is far worse than what you went through and what you were afraid of going through. So it's even more egregious that you can't empathize with her and stick up for bullied victims. How can you donate to bullying campaigns and in the same breath stand by and let your fans bully her? It's so hypocritical.
But I think, Nick, maybe you could have done something too. Maybe you could have spoken up and said, hey, guys, none of the people in the tags knew about the story of In-N-Out, or said, hey, Honey had no idea about anything and that was my fault. When I watched your story about the In-N-Out and all the people that you tagged, I was hurt by it. I felt bullied by it. But at the same time, maybe you could have spoken up sooner too. And maybe you could have said, hey guys, the people that were tagged in that post didn't know anything. That was all me. That was my bad. I feel like maybe you should have stuck up for your friends too, a lot sooner.
He did! In the video that you keep referencing, he literally apologized for it. He said that he was being petty and he never should have posted that video. What are you even talking about? Even right now, she deflects her own criticism by still blaming Nick. After all that shit about, oh, maybe I should have said more.
Maybe I should have addressed it more and more. Yeah, that's on me.
She just goes right into deflecting towards Nick.
I feel like maybe you should have stuck up for your friends too, a lot sooner.
So that you can't criticize her for it, saying he could have done more too. Why would you compare yourself to him? If he's this egregious, horrible person, why would you say Nick did it too, you petty bastard? And on top of it, why the fuck would he be addressing it publicly sooner, as you put it, when it was never public in the first place? At no point did he make it public that they were talking about you. It was only public when you made the video and told everyone that they were talking about you. Not to mention all the other people who you've had your fans fucking go after. You put their names publicly in your video because you knew that it was gonna send hate to them. If you're talking about how you knew that Nick was trying to send his fans over to hate you, then that means that you have the comprehension to understand that posting their names in your video was going to send hate to them. And at no point did you mention anything about it. It was deliberate. So no, this issue is more on you, but you paint as if it's all his fault again, and that you're just exonerated.
It's literally cancel culture. That's how social media works, and she knows that. She's a very smart woman. She knows exactly how this works. She's seen it done to so many other people.
I shared these little frustrations with him. It's nothing I would share online because I know how the internet works. And if I hadn't made that video, I wouldn't have spoken to this guy from New York. I wouldn't have known that he felt exactly the way I felt, scared, confused, threatened, bullied, So yes.
It's unforgivable. If it was affecting you, Stephanie, you would go in detail about how wrong it is. You would be upset. Even if it was that guy that Nick was dating, you would go into detail about how much it hurts to be bullied.
But with an emoji over my face and proceeded to call me a loser. It was just so crazy because like he did to you, he made me feel so comfortable in person when we first met. We talked all night, and then when I left, he gave me a hug and said it was nice meeting you, and I said it was nice meeting him too.
You'd be upset. You would give compassion and show examples. It's because you still don't give a damn about her or anyone who does not directly benefit you. So yeah, you are self-serving.
In that footage of that mukbang that you refused to release. So please, you have my full consent.
Look, whatever unreleased footage there is of him pressuring her to talk about Veronica doesn't change the concerns of people like me about your character, which is you comparing that to sexual assault, and you allowing people to go through the very thing that you found to be so appalling and disturbing. You aren't forgiven. You're just as bad as Nick, if not worse, and that's the position that we take. It quite frankly doesn't matter how badly he pressured you in that mukbang. You don't have the right to play victim while simultaneously misappropriating the Me Too movement and creating an angry mob against people who don't deserve one. It's like you keep saying, I'm scared he's gonna do this, I'm scared he's gonna do that, I'm scared he's going to use this against me. Nick, Stephanie, and Zach are at fault at many points in this entire issue, but Stephanie is the bigger hypocrite because she is the opposite of everything that she claims and promotes. Yeah, I did, and I still don't. These tears are much more real. She's constantly messing with her nose, her eyes are very wet, she isn't switching her entire persona, and she's sniffling constantly because her nose is actually running.
Feels lame. And I can't forget,
She's wiping her eyes a lot more because she's actually crying. And when she calms down, it isn't abrupt and immediate like in her exposure video. It's a smooth transition. Also, she does what normal people do, and I called it in my first video, and has a completely different persona when she's actually crying and when she isn't. Her facial expression is different. It's scrunched.
And I wanted to protect this person. I wanted them to stop hurting them, and I didn't know what to do.
She looks like it hurts to talk because that's how it feels when you're actually crying.
You know when your mouth gets really big because you're trying to overcompensate, your mouth is overcompensating for the lack of noise coming out, so your mouth is like...
So yeah, it's speculation and it's my opinion, not a fact, but I still stand by what I said. Go watch for yourself and not this mousy, innocent BS.
I did say, I would talk about it, didn't I? I don't know, he said I did, so I must have. And I just felt like I couldn't say anything because it would be going up against all of these people. When he texted me or called me, I know that I impacted your schedule today, and I'm so sorry about that. I was trying not to cry for those 30 minutes. I just had to take back my power to say no. My heart had dropped to the ground and just be done with it because I don't want him to get angry and proceeded to call me a loser.
Stephanie, you may have picked on Nick because he's an easy target and everybody hates him, but you just made a lot of enemies. Because best believe that the second something comes up where they can use it against you, everyone's going to try to take you down. Because the internet never forgets. The real story is out now, and as time goes by, and as all your K-pop fans grow up, the truth will reveal itself and people will see through you. I only scratched the surface of who she is. If you watched all of her mukbangs, you'd probably find a hell of a lot more. Like, if you're actually watching these T channels hoping to get a good perspective on what's happening, they don't take any time to research anything. They don't look into anything, they don't look for evidence, they just hop on the bandwagon because even if they're wrong, they can just say, oh, well, everybody else was too. I mean, people watch all this drama stuff for entertainment. They don't actually care about the people that they're criticizing, and it's really sad. For this reason and many more, I don't believe her tears in her original exposure video. And for the record, don't give me that, oh, she's been through stuff. So has everyone else. So she doesn't get a pass just because she's had rough times. None of you give a fuck about Nick's rough times, so you can't tell me shit about her rough times. It's hypocritical. We're either going to consider everybody's rough times and say that's why we shouldn't be so serious and vicious or whatever the hell you want to accuse me of, or we're just not going to give a fuck about their rough times. And we're just going to look at what they've done and criticize that. And you want to know the real reason why she has all of this paranoia? Why she's always worried about what people are going to do secretly, how people feel, all this stuff. Like, if someone's going to use something against her, someone's going to hurt her, manipulate her, all this stuff. It's because she's conniving. Every fucked up person who I've ever seen and every fucked up person that I've ever known who is sociopathic or is a master manipulator is very selective about what information they do and don't want to share. They're extremely paranoid. They're constantly wondering what move is someone else going to make. They don't trust anybody. They don't have a lot of friends. And the list goes on. And if you don't believe me, just ask yourself, wouldn't you be paranoid of letting people into your house if every time you visited someone that you didn't like, you put staples in every single one of their shoes twice a month?
So scared. Are you really that scary?
It's just a little strange. Okay, now this is awkward. It's just a little weird and uncomfortable.
The problem is that Stephanie is a calculating person. Whether it's James Charles versus Tati, this, or any other drama-related situation, most of the time, everyone has some fault involved. So why is it so hard for people to accept that they were both being petty and inconsiderate at times? That they both had intentions that they weren't voicing publicly? That they were both manipulative? Because there's evidence on both sides of it, and no one knows the true story. But the evidence that we can see is that there is evidence of both of them being petty and being manipulative. You can't just ignore one and defend the other. And the only reason why I'm mostly talking about her and I'm just acknowledging that, yeah, he was manipulative because everybody did a fucking video on Nikocado. I don't need to make a video about any of the stuff that he did that's suspect. So I know people still aren't going to get it. I know I'm still going to get comments on it and people saying, no. You just like him. You love him. He's your favorite YouTuber or some stupid shit. But no, like, I'm just saying people need to think more and recognize that she's not perfect. I am so tired of people calling hated people manipulators. Seriously, how is he so good? How is he such a master manipulator when everyone hates him? 90% of the mukbang community don't believe him. Even if he is a mastermind somehow despite that, is it so hard to believe that she is too? I don't know. Share your thoughts. I'm done with this shit. You all understand where I come from. You understand why I can't stand people like her so much and why I don't sympathize with what she went through. I understand that some of the things that she claimed could actually be true and are a serious thing, but it in no way excuses her behavior, and she is a slime ball. A slime ball isn't even the perfect word to use for her. Like, she's an egregious, horrible, heartless monster. That's how I feel about her. So, I'm fucking done with this shit. Thanks for watching this video, and I'll see you guys next time with anything other than this.